All right, everyone, welcome. This is the Florida Tech Scuba Club speaker series. We've had some amazing speakers so far, including Andrea Williams, the Vice President of the National Association of Black Scuba Divers, Dr. Selena McMillan, uh, Regional Manager for Reef Check Foundation, and now this evening we have Michael Dorian Acid representing the AAUS Foundation. The AAUS Foundation is the American Academy of Underwater Sciences, and the foundation is the philanthropic branch of that organization dedicated to opening up accessibility to the world of scuba diving, scientific diving, and ocean exploration through grants, scholarships, and other barrier, demolishing endeavors that we are focused on. Michael and I both serve on the diversity committee at the AAUS Foundation, so he'll be speaking a little bit more about that. And this talk this evening is also part of the Pride Week programming here at Florida Tech. And again, it's hosted by Florida Tech Scuba Club. My name is Anesti Vega, and I am the president of Florida Tech Scuba Club. Our mission is that we are dedicated to the education, safety, enrichment, and professional development of the Florida Tech community through scuba diving and the advocacy and protection of our oceans. This talk tonight will be recorded and added to our YouTube channel, where it can be shared widely and openly as much as you like. And you can check our website, floridatechscuba.org, for any questions you may have. Without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Michael Dorian Acid. Welcome, sir.
Hi, guys. Thank you, Nesty. Thanks for being here, guys. I'm excited to talk to you about where my scuba diving adventures have taken me so far, and then as well as some information about a newly developed scholarship that the AAUS Foundation just debuted this year. So yeah, if we can get started. Do I need to share my screen with you for the PowerPoint? Oh, wait, is it that? Can you see it? Can you see it okay?
Yeah, we can see that. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, so.
I don't know if you want to put it into presentation mode. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. Okay, guys, so yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about my scuba diving adventures and where they've taken me so far. There will be 3 parts to this presentation. We'll go over a little bit about me and my background, and then the second part we'll talk about my journey to college to scientific diving and to now currently. And then the third part is going to be, if you can power through all my rambling, I'd love to share some info about the diversity scholarship opportunity that I mentioned earlier. All righty. So again, I'm Michael Acid. I'm half Filipino and half African-American. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I am gay. I do identify as him, he, him, and his with those pronouns. And a little bit about my educational background. I randomly have a degree in fashion design that I'm not really using, but that will play a very crucial part into where I am now. So I'll share that later. And then I got my undergrad in international business and marketing. I double majored with a minor in French. I have a knack for learning languages, and I've been able to keep up on French, which helped me get into the grad school program that I just recently completed here in Monterey at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies. I got my master's in international environmental policy with an emphasis in sustainability management. And I continued learning my French. You had to speak a foreign language at an intermediate or above level in order to get into the school. So I just continued my French. And so I've been pretty much studying French for the last like 8 years, I want to say. But yeah. All right, so diving is my passion now. I'm currently a dive master. I figured in order to be serious about the career that I wanted to get into, I had to be a little bit more competitive in this realm. So I figured getting a dive master would show how serious I am about being a diver, and as well as how I could apply those skills to a professional job. And so I've got a little over 200 dives under my belt. 25% of them are warm water dives. I racked up my first 45, 50 dives in Madagascar to do marine conservation, which we'll get into that later. And most of my diving has been cold water diving here when I continued my scientific diving training through AAUS at CSUMB, as well as volunteering with Reef Check, that international environmental NGO that deals with, that helps assess coral reef health management, as well as rocky reef structures here in the California region. So in this picture here, there's not too many places to dive in Missouri, so we have to go to a quarry in Mermet Springs, Illinois. And so I completed my rescue diver training there, as well as my dive master. And I got my dry suit certification there as well too. So if you've ever seen the movie US Marshals, there's a plane that they crashed in that film. They sunk that into this quarry. So that's why it's so popular. Like, people like to go down there and check that out. So, all right. And then here's my journey. So right after high school, when I was 18, I joined the military and I thought I was going to be a Navy diver. So that is what got my interest sparked in the diving industry. I made it through the Navy diver preparatory course and to the training in the official training in Panama City, Florida, but I didn't make it through the training there. So I got dropped from the program and reclassified as an aviation maintenance administration man. And I was able to reach second class petty officer before I got out. I served from 2006 to 2010. I've spent about 14 months of my life on an aircraft carrier. That's between 2 deployments and I want to say 2 more exercises. I forgot what they're called exactly, but training exercises for the aircraft squadron that I was in. I was in an E-2C Hawkeye squadron, and they're an early aircraft warning system, and they kind of jam radars and detect other enemy planes and things like that. That's the kind of squadron that I was in. And I was based out of Point Mugu, California for my entire enlistment. But whenever we deployed on the USS Ronald Reagan, so yeah, like I said, one of the aircraft carriers, we visited about countries, Japan, Thailand, Dubai, or Malaysia. Oh, it was awesome. A really great experience. And that's also where I caught the travel bug too. So after I got out of the Navy in 2010, I really wanted to be in the fashion industry. So I went straight from Ventura, Point Mugu area to LA, where I got into the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And I got my associate's degree in fashion design. From there, I wasn't too happy with the industry. I didn't really feel very connected to the cutthroat type of environment that was thrived in this industry. And I was also very turned off the amount of waste that the industry produces. So in trying to figure out whether I wanted to be a part of that or not, I kept up with my traveling. I studied abroad in France, and then I went to Guyana for a biology field research course. And that was when I realized I really like being outside and I love being in the science community. And from there, my life pretty much changed. And that's where I started to have a shift in career paths pretty much. When I graduated in undergrad, I wanted to do something crazy, and my choices were between doing kung fu in a mountain in China for 2 months, or going to Madagascar and doing marine conservation. And I've always wanted to dive, so I was like, well, I guess I'll check this out. I'll finally get these diving certifications and go down to Madagascar. And I did that, and the minute I was under with a transect, surveying invertebrates and identifying coral and fish species. I was like, I got to get paid to do this for the rest of my life. And so that was when I really, really determined that I wanted to have a shift in career paths. And um, from there, I realized that if I was serious about this career path, I would get more into the professional side of diving. So I came back from Madagascar in Missouri, and I applied to grad school programs, and I got into the one here in Middlebury in Monterey, California. And we had an agreement with neighboring universities that if you were interested in auditing classes, you could take them for free. And scientific diving was offered at CSUMB, which is from here. And I was like, yes, this is my ticket into this industry. So I went to CSUMB and I got into the scientific diving course. And that was when I pretty much got acquainted with the American Academy of Water Science. Because in order to do any kind of research diving in the United States, which I'm sure most of you guys are aware of, you have to go through this program. So through them, I met the regional manager of the Central Coast area for Reef Check, Dan Abbott, who helped train me in Reef Check surveying protocols and fish and invertebrate algae identification. And I mean, this organization pretty much changed my life. I started to build a network with divers that were connected in a lot of different industries. I was building very valuable and lasting friendships and connections. One of the guys I'm really cool with that's been with the Reef Check chapter since it began. He takes me out kayaking. We used to do it every Monday before I got a full-time job, but hopefully we can start that back up again when I find the time. But we would go kayak diving and check out some of the cool sites around here in Monterey that I didn't really have access to. And then kept a foot in the marine industry by doing this and keeping up with conservation and working on my skills as well too. And I also got an incredible opportunity to do some really cool adventures with the organization. And it's actually how I met Anesti here, because he sponsored me to go on this this eco diving trip with Reef Check that they do annually to access some sites that aren't really easy to get to off of the coast of Big Sur. So that was another thing too. I got to see some really cool sites that not a lot of people are able to get to. And yeah, I learned a lot from this organization, and it actually connected me with the company that I work for now. So here's a little video of me in action. So the skills that I learned with Reef Check were super valuable to the job that I have now, because we had to identify up to 80 different marine species. And one of those were some endangered and threatened species that I had to identify in a project at UC Santa Cruz's Long Marine Lab. They were doing a retrofitting project on their seawater intake pipe that feeds their
all right, give us just a second here.
This was for, so I was on
Hey,
call
Michael.
while I was in grad school.
Hey, Michael.
And this was for an environmental consulting company. And I was pretty much on call for about a year, and they ended up hiring me full time.
Hey, Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it froze for a good bit of that when you were talking about the work you were doing at Log Marine Lab with Santa Cruz. It froze a little bit.
Okay.
If you want to recap that real fast.
I'll pause the video. So maybe it was causing too much, I don't know, taking up too much data or something.
Yeah.
So at Long Marine Lab, yeah, that's probably what it is. I was a part of a trampling study. So we monitored the density of sessile invertebrates, and with a before and after control impact study to determine whether the commercial divers constantly walking on it was impacting them or not. And we also were in charge of a black abalone avoidance plan. So we were just, because they're an endangered species, we had to make sure that their sensitive habitat wasn't disturbed, or if we were disturbing the organism itself. So, and black abalone is one of the important species that we study of all the species that we keep track of in the 80 plus marine species what indicator species, that's what it was, indicator species. I met my boss through this program, or through this project, and I worked for this company for about a year. Yeah, I was on call for a year while I was in grad school, and I ended up getting hired last year. So, whoops, no, let's go. We can go over that one. And I ended up getting hired through the environmental consulting agency. And yeah, so now I'm in environmental consulting as an environmental scientist, consultant, and also a scientific diver. They give me a bunch of roles at this place, which is pretty cool. So I don't get bored, and I'm always outside. So I'm either in a mountain or I'm in the ocean during the dive season. And the dive season coming up, and we have a really cool project that I'm excited to work on. But because we haven't started yet and the project's not complete, I'm not allowed to say disclose which company it is. But super excited about that opportunity. Can't wait to have it on my resume. Alrighty, now part 3. Here's the cool, exciting part. The president of the American Academy of Underwater Sciences reached out to me a few months ago, and he asked if I was interested in being a part of the diversity committee, because they were launching their diversity scholarship this year. And of course I said yes, and I get to join an amazing team of pretty accomplished divers all across the United States. And part of those duties are promoting this scholarship, and I'd love to share this with you guys, this awesome opportunity. So like I said, it's a diversity scholarship. It's targeted to those from underrepresented groups in diving based on personal background, as demonstrated by a lot of factors that aren't limited to educational experience, socioeconomic background, cultural heritage, race, ethnicity, and geographic origin. And as well as you need for a scientific diver certification. We do, wait, is that on the next slide? Okay. So there has to be, one of the requirements for some of the requirements for this scholarship is that there has to be a need for a scientific diver certification in the realm that you want to pursue. So whether it be for volunteering, an aquarium that you're interested in volunteering for, an organization that you want to volunteer for, like Reef Check, the one that I mentioned, which was a great start to launching my career in citizen science, as well as a technical diving field. So in the environmental consulting realm like I'm in right now. And you have to be interested in pursuing this certification after the open water class, the initial open water class. So you have to demonstrate a need for that and a desire to continue onto that path afterwards, okay? And how does the scholarship work? So we'll provide payment directly to the dive shop for the recipients of the award. And this part of this will include the open water scuba course, and as well as some of the gear rentals and everything. And we'll provide the money for the personal mask, fins, and a snorkel too, which we all know is, the basic necessities for diving. And then there are some additional criteria that we have that we'd like for you to complete. So you need to be an AAUS member, which there's a link on the website that lets you apply for it. If you're applying for the scholarship, you'll instantly become a member as well. So you have to be connected to an AAUS organization. So like I mentioned before, if it's through a volunteer organization, an aquarium, or a citizen science program, these will definitely be a part of an AAUS organization. They will definitely be an AAUS organizational member. Like my job, for example, we have to work with another organization called, or another company called Merkel and Associates, who are AAUS organizational members, because my company is not. And so in order to do the work that we're going to be performing in the future, we have to be current AAUS divers under their hospice, pretty much. So like I said, this is very crucial part of the diversity scholarship criteria. So you could be a graduate student who's doing research that's involved with diving. You could be, like we said, volunteers, aquarium volunteers as well too. We do ask that you provide a personal statement and a letter of recommendation from faculty or a mentor, and as well as the signature of the institutional DSO, who will pretty much be the point of contact between the AAUS Foundation as well as some of the dive shops in the region. And then, of course, just complete the online application. What's going on here? And there we go. And so, yeah, if you're interested, please spread the word. We'd love to get a lot of interesting applicants to screen their applications and their personal statements and everything, check out their backgrounds. And with that said, I'd like to thank the Florida Tech Scuba Diving Council, as well as Reef Check and the AAUS Foundation too. So thanks a lot, guys. If you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer for the next, what'd you say, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, we'll play it by ear, but
Okay.
thank you, Michael, Dorian, Acid. Really appreciate it, sir. Always a pleasure to have you on board, and thank you so much for sharing a lot of information about the AAUS Foundation and the Diversity Scholarship. We
Thank you, thank you.
I wanted to provide some additional information as it applies to here at Florida Tech. Florida Institute of Technology is an organizational member with the AAUS. We have an affiliated dive safety officer, Tim Fletcher, currently, who is with AAUS. And so for anybody in the scuba club or in the greater Florida Tech community who's interested in this scholarship, feel free to reach out to me and or Tim. I may be a better fit because I'm part of the diversity committee alongside Michael here around getting you acquainted with the ins and outs of the scholarship application process. I can provide a letter of recommendation for you, which may go a long way since I serve on the committee. I may have to recuse myself if your application gets high enough up, but definitely advocate nonetheless for my fellow Florida Tech students here. And and it's just an affiliation. What that means when you say an affiliation with an organizational member, you are a student of Florida Tech and we are an organizational member, and that's a big part of what you need. If you know anybody outside of the Florida Tech community in the general area that would like to connect, we urge them to apply anyway, even if they don't have a direct connection to an organizational member or a DSO. And we can, if we feel their application is strong enough, we'll help do our due diligence in getting them connected with a local dive safety officer wherever they may be nationwide. So very, very accommodating. This is a very unique scholarship in that it covers open water certification. So there's a few other scholarships out there that already kind of tap into the world of divers and the people who are privileged enough to step into the diving community through the inherent barriers that exist there in a lot of different ways. And so this is a great scholarship that said we want to meet people where they're at, and if they want to be scientific divers but can't take that first step into recreational scuba certification yet, we want to make sure we cover that. And not only is it covered, but the equipment needed, including personal gear, is covered, which I think is pretty amazing. It's a really one-of-a-kind scholarship. And so thank you again, Michael, for sharing that. And I want to open it up to any questions anybody has.
Random question. a couple slides ago, you had pictures, and one of them was on a boat with a green deck. Was that the conception or truth or the vision out of Santa Barbara, California?
Yeah, it was.
I worked on that boat. I'm from
I
Santa
think it was
Barbara.
the vision.
Yeah, the vision is the one we take on that eco expedition every year to make
Yeah.
sure. That's the vision. Absolutely.
Oh, you worked on it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm from Santa Barbara, and they're family friends, so you know.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I feel
It's
that
interesting.
boat.
Yeah, I that was my first time doing that eco expedition and being on one of those boats. And then when the conception incident happened, I remember reading that article and thinking like, man, this the structure of this boat sounds very familiar. Like this is kind of odd. And then I found out it was one of the sister boats and I was like, oh man. And this was just I think a month or two after I got off of that eco expedition.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, kind of close to home, but I mean, it affected all of us divers because, it's such a, close knit community and stuff. But yeah, man,
Yeah,
could have
it
been
was
me.
gnarly. Yeah. But yeah, I recognize that. I recognize that deck, but I wanted to
Mhm.
confirm. Small world.
Are they going to keep operating the other two boats or?
No
No,
more.
the company is shut down. NTSB filed their
Oh,
report and basically, yeah, basically devastated that whole company with a lot
man.
of liability. I won't speak on it because I'm not an expert in that area, but the company has been sold to somebody else now that's trying to keep up similar dive operations with the two remaining boats in that fleet.
Mm,
So there's yeah, there's some workarounds around that, but California divers are strong and resilient, and it's still
yeah.
figuring out how to be able to get things done. But that was that that company and that fleet of boats was a pinnacle of like a lot of diving in Central and Southern California. So it really devastated a lot of us, and I know people personally that were on that boat, and a lot of people, almost every California diver I know knows somebody who knows somebody who was on that boat, at
Hmm.
least, if not knew someone directly. So, but yeah, that was a really eye-opening event. But I think that a lot of good is going to eventually come from helping ensure that safety standards are strengthened here moving forward. Any other questions? I wanted to ask Michael. You spoke about being gay. That was one of the first things you shared. And obviously we brought you on as part of Pride programming, Pride Week programming. Uh, what has how has that part of your identity kind of influenced like who you are and what you've done, especially in your military experience? And I'm trying to match up the timelines of when you were in versus like "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" being repealed, and then
Oh
and
boy.
whatnot. How if you want to speak on those experiences, if you don't mind?
Oh man. So when I initially joined, there was a guy in my boot camp who was also going to be a diver in the same class or whatever. And that was my first time because so I was in during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It was ironically uplifted 3 months after I got out.
Oh man.
Yeah, jokes on me, right? Um, and when when I first started going through that class, that was the first time in my life that I ever really experienced like I guess sexual harassment in like the workplace because he was like relentless. He would call me a fag and talk like, a lot of crap behind my back and stuff. And it got to the point where he got a hold of my phone number and would send me like very like graphic and mean like text and stuff like that. And so I thought that, I could be an adult about it and I approached him and told him to cut it out and not to like do things like that, but he still kept doing it. So I went to I used the chain of command and stuff, and they actually got him kicked out. I don't know if he got kicked out of the military, but they got him kicked out of the special forces program because diving is part of the special forces in the Navy. And I never heard from that guy again, but but I yeah, because I was in during Don't Ask, Don't Tell, like a lot of people did suspect it, but a lot of the people that I was, I guess, close-ish to me didn't really mind, and they didn't make a big deal out of it. This was when I was in going through the dive school, but when I got out, I got reclassed as an aviation maintenance administration, and I was put in an aircraft squadron, which is a little bit smaller. There's about like 80 people, I want to say, in the squadron, and I I really felt like the Navy was just an extension of high school. It's just a bunch of like older people that just act kind of childish, and because of
That-
the stigma of me being gay in the military, and I was kind of isolated a lot. I spent a lot of time alone, and I think out of that entire experience, I've kept like 2 or 3 close friends from it. But I didn't have that many close friends in the military because of that, and which was fine. I ended up learning a lot about myself, and um, I got really depressed to the point where I was like, well, you wanted to do this, you signed up for this, and you know you're not like the rest of these people. So you can either make the most of this or you can just be sad and bitchy and moan about it. And I definitely made the most out of it. I got to travel. I took advantage of the free classes on deployment and things like that. And I just, just focused a lot of that negative energy and that negative space into something more positive and fruitful. Because yeah, if the military is already stressful enough, and when you have that kind of environment, it can get to you and make it a lot. You can make that experience a lot worse. But um, I never let it get to me.
yeah, I know the military can be a whole other beast, with a lot of
Yeah.
like arrested development, emotional development. it,
Mhm.
it kind of breeds that. It attracts it and helps maintain it in a lot of ways. And so there's a lot of stunted growth and development in that area that can breed that type of toxicity.
And
Absolutely. So
and I was a really good sailor, so like they, as long as I got my work done and I showed up on time and everything, then none of my superiors had any problem with anything about me. They're just like Acid's cool. He shows up and does his job. He's not a shitbag sailor like the rest of you guys.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that really helps things along. Absolutely.
yeah,
How
yeah.
how has it been your journey in through academia and the professional world now? Any major hangups there, or pretty smooth sailing? I mean, California is
No, yeah, it's
pretty
been
liberal, right?
like yeah, yeah, pretty liberal. Everyone's pretty open-minded and cool. That's one thing I love about the dive community. So like I mentioned before, I have my undergrad in business, and you volunteer to like, and you try to do all these things to get experience, and you try to network and stuff, but I never felt like I really belonged there, or like I had much of an interest in it. And then I come into this room and everyone's just so eager to help. And I noticed that in the business industry, people like to talk a lot and say like, yeah, I'll get you this, and yeah, I'll hook you up here, and yeah, I know this person, da da da. But it's just all fluff. But like in the dive community, everyone's like, yeah, I know this person, I can get you this and I can get you that. Like, you want a discount, and like all that stuff actually happens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I've been welcomed with open arms in this industry, and um yeah, I love it. It's great.
So
It's
from
the
the
first time I had like a really sense of community that I'm like actually involved in, and I feel like I'm a part of.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm thankful to be part of that community with you, serving on
Yeah.
that committee with you, and getting you connected and getting each other connected in so many ways. And so from the military to a degree in fashion to business, to what you do now, you had mentioned like there was a turning point, I think, in when you were doing field research where you were like, I wanted, in Guyana, where you were like, all right, this was a pinnacle moment, right? This is a milestone moment where I was like, I want to do this, right? But when it came to like what you do now as a wildlife biologist, like was there a turning point where it was more than just being a scuba diver or a field researcher, where it's like, I want to be a scientist, like, and contribute to science, like in that title and all the, I guess, weight in a way that comes with that? Like, was there a specific turning point where you're like, I'm going to become a scientist?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a little bit when I was in Madagascar. As soon as I was under the water, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is definitely where it's at. Um, and then when I got to Monterey, I stayed on that path, and as much as I could, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome and a little bit of and I felt a little intimidated because here in Monterey, the divers are very well connected and just like super accomplished. Like like my boss or my supervisor now that got me the job at the company that I work with now, she helped develop the policies and created the survey protocols and everything for the California chapter of Reef Check. And just working with her alone, I'm just like, science woman, like, and like I have a degree in fashion design and business, like, like, like she's not gonna take me seriously. She's not gonna think that I'm capable, da da da. But she she believed in me. She gave me a chance, and I worked my ass off. And now she's like throwing me into like really really cool projects. So, um, so I guess that encouragement and that push and those people, just giving you an opportunity, that really helped solidify that I was like in the right industry and this was where I wanted to be. And I'm not exactly trying to be like, like a world renowned scientist, but I really like I like the versatile roles that I have at this job. And I encompass it under the environmental scientist umbrella because that's where I'm at. I'm outside. I'm I'm protecting the environment in more ways than one. And then I feel like the science diving is where I'm really, a bit more hands-on in the scientist kind of way. I mean, even like I said, I get a little bit of imposter syndrome calling myself an environmental scientist. You and I discussed it before. Like I had a little bit of issues with like trying to figure out what my title was. Like, am I a consultant? Am I a scientist? Am I a marine ecologist? Like, I'm like, I feel bad claiming those titles when there's other people that have had, like more structured training or more traditional training and things like that.
Yeah,
But I'm pretty sure that if I keep up in this field, at some point I'll be experienced enough to feel confident in calling myself, like a science scientist.
well, I think you're already there, man. That's it's a big part of like, why you're pulled into these, committees and, doing talks like this. You've got an excellent story, and it's one that I think needs to be told more because there's so much pressure to walk that traditional route.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you're not going to make it unless you walk this particular pre-planned route of going to
Exactly.
school and studying this and doing this in your undergrad and then doing this in your master's. And there's supposedly a playbook out there. And for anybody who isn't matching what they think that playbook is in their head, that they're not going to make it. And so it's really important to get your story and similar stories out there like that to say like, hey, look, you can take some time in life to figure things out, and you can change your mind a few times between fashion and business
Yeah,
and other things
exactly.
for you to land right where you need to be at the time you need to be there. And so it's an
Hmm.
important story to tell. Do you have any advice? We have, so here at this Florida Tech Scuba Club, we have a lot of undergrads. We have a few graduate students, but they're all relatively kind of fresh in developing their career. Here in a lot of ways taking that traditional route. Do you have any advice for them? Maybe something that you learned along the way that you wish somebody would have told you in the beginning, when you started your journey?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how often you guys hear this, but do something that makes you stand out. Like, I think Anesi and I talk about this frequently, like, especially in the marine biologist world, like it's kind of like an assembly line. They just pump out, you know, people from these traditional backgrounds and everyone does the same route. And I think to, in order to get like a competitive edge out of like all these applicants that you're going to be competing with, I think having something like weird and out, kind of out there kind of makes you, kind of separates you from everyone else. Yeah. And I really like having my hands in a lot of things. And I'm just now like I said, building a sense of community and networking properly. And I happened, the cool thing about the field that I'm in now, I happen to combine a leisurely hobby with my profession. And that's another piece of advice that I'd like to give like younger people. Find something that makes you happy, because like it's cliche and everything, but like if you're in a field that you love, you don't work a day in your life. And when I was in my 20s, I was traveling a lot and I was studying abroad and I was going to school, and I met so many people that were like, I hate my job, like Monday, they're dreading Mondays. And I was just like, I don't ever want to be like that. And fortunately, like I did go through like a period of depression-ish, like looking for work after Madagascar, because I still thought that maybe I could squeeze my way into this like difficult fashion industry, and it didn't work out. But fortunately, because I got into diving, I was able to, like I said, find something I love, and then actually find the path that I really wanted to be on. So yeah, if that's any advice I can get to any young person, find something that you truly love and you wouldn't mind doing the rest of your life. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's great advice. It's definitely mirrors a lot of what I put out there and a lot of other professionals put out there as well.
mhm.
Do we? I want to open up to any more questions before we close out for the evening. All right. Well, I think that wraps things up. Thank you again, Michael Acid, for being our guest presenter this evening.
Thank you.
It was
Thanks for
really
inviting
cool.
me. Thanks
Really
for
cool.
watching, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really cool and insightful story you have. Again, I can't emphasize enough that really needs to be told to help really reinforce people who may not be necessarily taking that traditional path or have access to it, to be able to say like I can take these alternative routes to be able to get to where I need to go to achieve that dream job and that position where it doesn't feel like work. And so that's really exciting to hear your story and how you came about that, and some of the odds you had to overcome through your identity, to be able to share that with us. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us as well. Really appreciate that. And again, this is part of our speaker series here at the Florida Tech Scuba Club, a student organization based at the Florida Institute of Technology. Again, check our website for any questions you may have, floridatechscuba.org, and reach out with any questions. And I hope you enjoyed this talk, and we'll have more starting in September in the fall. Thank you guys very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys.